Hello, hello, hello. If you are here for the very first time, I would like to welcome you. My name is Teacher Will, and this is the place where you and I believe that we learn together. So if you're new, I'd like to welcome you. I'd ask that you click on that subscribe button and make sure that you click on the bell so that you receive the latest notifications that when I drop a video. And in today's video, I want to talk about something that is a most commonly asked questions that you, the learners in an extended family, have asked me. And you've said to me, Teacher Will, I don't know the difference between this verb tense, that verb tense. When do I use it? What's the difference between he will go to America versus I go home versus he went home? Well, in this video, I want to talk about verb tenses, all right? And I want to talk about 4 particular verb tenses in this particular video. I want to give you a framework or an outline that when remembering verb tenses, I want you to remember the outline or framework. Regardless of what the verb tense is, I want you to remember 3 things. Write it down. Get a piece of paper. First, how, when, or why. Each verb tense, there are 12 different verb tenses in the English language, and regardless of the verb tense that is being utilized, I want you to remember how, when, and why. The how defines the verb structure. The when is the time of the verb, and a verb typically has 3 particular time periods. That verb tense can be now or present, past or future. And the why is the reason or explanation that you're using a particular verb tense. So, again, regardless of the verb tense, I want you to remember the framework or the similarity, and something that hopefully will help you remember the verb tense is how, when, and why. All right? So, let's get into the first verb tense that I want you to remember. Verb tense number 1. I could say William is a student. Or William lives in America, or you study English. Well, that particular verb tense is called the present simple. Now, let's break the present simple down using our format, how, when, and why. The how of present simple is verb 1, right? He goes to school. You are a smart student, right? So the verb tense is always verb 1. The when is the time of the verb. So for example, if I say you watch this video or you learn English, the reason when present simple is something in terms of the time of the verb is an everyday action. That's right, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, all the days of the week, an everyday action. And the reason why you use the present simple, I would like to give you 3 particular reasons. Number 1, truth or fact. Number 2, everyday action. Number 3, habit. So, present simple, the reason why you use that verb tense is if you're talking about an everyday action, something that's a truth or fact, or habit, you want to use the present simple. Verb tense number 2. If I say, for example, you are going to the mall. He is learning English. I am studying English. Well, there's a verb tense that we use in English that describes a right now action or ing that we call the present continuous. So, let's go over our framework. Present continuous. How, when, why. The how, the verb structure of present continuous, is the verb to be plus verb ing. I am making a video. That's the verb structure. The when, time of the verb of present continuous. You use it to describe an action that's happening right now. And the why, reason, explanation for the present continuous. Listen, if you're talking about something that you're doing right now, you use the present continuous. Verb tense number 3. I like this verb tense. For example, I can say, Mary will go to America. or you will learn English, or Thomas will read a book. Now, that particular verb tense is the future simple. Now, there's two forms of the future simple, so let me explain the first one. The how, the when, the why. How remember, how is the verb structure. So for the verb structure for future simple, it's will plus verb 1. You will be a good student. The when of future simple is when you're discussing the time of the verb. It's a future action or something that you have planned in the future. And the reason or explanation for why you use the future simple is when you want to talk about an action that what will occur sometime in the future. So that is one particular verb tense of the future simple. One of the things that when we use will plus verb 1 is when we are going to discuss a promise or voluntary action. So, will study, will go, will discover. They will discover new things. That is a promise or voluntary action. Now, there is another verb tense that we use for the future simple. For example, I could say, he is going to go to America, or you are going to be a fluent speaker. Well, that is another verb tense for the future simple. Now what do? We use the how, the when, and the why. All right? So, he is going to be a good English speaker. Verb to be plus going to plus verb. That's the verb structure. The when, time of the verb, is to express something. The time of the verb, the action of the verb, is the future. And the reason is what? When you want to discuss a future action. He is going to be a fluent speaker. More importantly, let's make this personal. You are going to become an excellent English learner. Now, you use verb to be plus going to plus verb when you want to express a particular plan, right? So, for example, I could say, I am going to call you at 6 p.m. That is the future simple when you want to express a particular plan. So here's what I want you to remember. Regardless if you're going to use the future simple will plus verb 1, or you're going to use verb to be plus going to plus verb, those are predictions for the future. So for example, I can say, 2020 will be a wonderful year, or 2020 is going to be a wonderful year. The similarities are both of those verb tenses predict a future prediction. Now let's talk about one last verb tense in this particular video. If I said to you, what did you do yesterday? Or where did you go? Or he listened to this video, or you went on vacation. There is a verb tense, ladies and gentlemen, and we call it the past simple. So let's follow that same format: how, when, and why. Now, the verb structure of past simple, it's interesting. We have two particular forms. We have regular verbs such as listen, played, watched that end in ed. And then the second form, we have different irregular verbs like did, went, ate, came, and heard. So verb structure for the past simple, you have to know if the verb is regular or irregular. Again, regular verbs end in ed, and we have a whole slew of irregular verbs, the aforementioned that I mentioned. Now, the best way to remember, or if you ask me the question, well, teacher, when do I know if it's regular or irregular? What I would recommend to you is practice. You can get a book on or do a Google search on lists between regular verbs and irregular verbs, and that's a good source for you. Or you could use the internet. But I believe the best way to understand the structure is just by using the language. So that's the how. Let's talk about the when, the time of the verb. Remember, if I say you went to school or he became a doctor, the time of the verb, the action is in the past. And the reason or explanation for the past simple is when I'm talking about an action that occurred and is finished in the past. He went to school. You were a doctor. Now, regardless if I say you were a doctor last year or you were a doctor, just by the indication of using were or went, it is past. You have the choice of whether you want to say last year or last month. You don't have to, but that's just to give you the options. So let's review what we learned. For example, if I say you are a wonderful person, well, that's a truth and a fact. Or you study English, that's an everyday action or habit. So you would utilize what? Everyday action, truth or fact, habit, present simple. If I say I'm making this video and you are listening to me, I hope, well, something that I do, the action that I do right now is what? ing, present continuous. Next one, if I say you will learn English and you are going to learn English, what is that? Two different forms of the future simple. And if I say you were not scared by learning English, you didn't have confidence, but now you do. Or we went on vacation. That particular verb tense is what? The past simple that expresses a past action. So those are some of the commonly used verb tenses that we use in the English language. And I hope that you remember, anytime you deal with the verb tense, you remember the how, the when, and the why. So what I'd like you to do is in the comments section, use some of the different verb tenses. Let me know if this video makes sense. I hope that it does. I'll be back soon with some more verb tenses, but I wanted to do this video for you because you were asking me, Teacher Will, I don't know when to use this or that. And I wanted to hopefully help you learn and aid you in your learning process. Until next time, and remember, if you're having difficulties with English, what I recommend is just remember the GPPP of English. Have a goal, plan, pray. If you don't pray, that's fine. Call it belief in yourself. And then produce. English is possible only if you believe.